Dun 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 dun. Hello everyone, it's LJ here, and this is my video on how to build a Lego Star Destroyer Tensegrity sculpture. As you can see, it appears that the Star Destroyer is floating only by means of strings and chains. No magnets, no stands, and all it uses is the force. The force is strong in this Star Destroyer. No, actually, it's physics. Plain, reliable physics. For all those Lego Star Wars fans out there who have so many other nice ships, you can actually use any ship that you wish. Your Millennium Falcon, your Slave One, to do a Tensegrity sculpture. But there are some requirements that you have to have, or these ships have to have, for it to be able to be a good candidate for a Tensegrity sculpture. But before we go into those things, let me break this apart so that you'll somehow see how I did it before I explain it to you. So first I remove the top. Now I open the side panels, and if you see those two orange things over there, that's the one that's holding the balancing handle of the Star Destroyer. If you can see that even if while I'm pulling the parts out, the Star Destroyer still is a bit afloat. Alright, now to remove the lateral ties, and it's out. Now the first thing you have to find out for a ship that you desire to be used in a Tensegrity is that you have to look for the center of balance. Now this is a crude way of looking for it. You just place your hand in the probable place of the center and try to balance the spaceship in your hand with one hand. And the good thing about the Star Destroyer is it also has a hole under it, which can be a good access for your handle. So my hand is placed right in the center of balance for this Star Destroyer. So test it again and see the swooshability of your spaceship. You need to find the center of balance or the center of gravity so you know where to put the handle of your Tensegrity sculpture. Now for the second requirement that I think is very important is that your spaceship should have a good framework. The Star Destroyer has a good skeleton and it has a good technique framework inside. Although the floor itself is quite soft, but the framework is stable, like as you can see in how I handle it. The next thing that I see as very important also is that your ship should have a place where you can attach the posterior lateral strings. Here and there. and it also has to be a stable part of the framework. Now let's go to the stand. I used a basic stand using Technic parts and using two chains to make it more stable, and I inserted a rod in the middle to so it won't release due to the weight of your Star Destroyer. Now I also used for the base, I used a old space base where the ship would be hovering over. Now my stand is 5 studs wide, and usually the bases are even in number. So to make the stand right in the middle, I use 2x1 plates with single studs to medialize it. Make sure it's stable and hard enough. Now for the attachment of the posterior lateral ties, I made sure that it's reinforced. As you notice that I reinforced it on the Technic bricks so that it won't get pulled by the weight of your Star Destroyer. So usually your ties should be almost as wide as your ship. So you make sure that it's stable and strong enough. So you can pull it and it won't detach easily. Now for the ends of your lateral posterior ties, you have to make sure that it will also be stable enough once you attach it to the ship. So I put extra studs so that it won't be released or pulled out while it's carrying the weight of the Star Destroyer. Now to show you the handle, balancing handle of the Star Destroyer, I have these 4 prongs which I insert into the skeleton of the Star Destroyer, and I just made sure using Technic pieces that it's strong enough to hold the weight of the ship that you plan to put. And I also put extra reinforcement Technic parts so that I'm sure it won't buckle carrying the weight of the Star Destroyer. And here we go. Let's try to attach. These are the 4 prongs of the handle that I will insert into the skeleton of the Star Destroyer. See the advantage of having a hole under your ship. Now if you're using another ship or a different ship, you can just make a hole, create a hole so that you can have an access to the skeleton. Now once I attach it, I'll be putting the reinforcements to make sure that it doesn't release. Alright, now to test the strength of your handle, see? To show you how strong the handle I made. Now the body of the Star Destroyer without the head is not so heavy, it's actually quite light. So it's actually very swooshable. Woohoo! See? Okay. Okay, so now we're ready to attach it to the stand or the base. So if you notice, those are the 2 chains, and then you just have to attach it to the lower part of your handle. I'm using the chains. It has a snap on. It'll just snap on with just like your studs going into the holes the side of the Technic part, and then make it stable using the rod. Oops, it fell down, and yes, okay. So make sure you insert it well. If you don't put this reinforcement, it will release and fall off. Now to attach the posterior lateral ties. Make sure that it also is reinforced, or else you'd have a crashing spaceship. So the 3 studs is actually enough for this Star Destroyer. And once you put one side, you'll notice that it will become a bit more stable. And as you put the other side, it will just suddenly, magically, balance and stay afloat. Are you ready? Voila! Now you just have to find where to attach it properly. Sometimes your ship will crash. It's a bit trial and error, but eventually you'll get it. You just have to adjust on where to attach it, and it'll be good. It's actually floating now, if you notice. See, you'll see some shaking when you turn it around. Just make sure to give it a little bit of support, and there you see it. It's floating. Ta-da! Now here is the Star Destroyer without the top. If you notice, it's pointing a bit upward. I actually did that on purpose because once you place the top part of the Star Destroyer, it suddenly stoops down. See? Points at a level, proper level now, with the top. It's quite heavy. Just make sure it's balanced, and then it's ready to let go. It's flying, it's floating. Dun, 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 dun. This is really so cool. I just had to do it. You will push and it will shake a little bit, and it's like it's floating. So right after you get it to balance, you have to inspect it, go around, check for if it's midline and if it's not tilting to one side, and then just enjoy it. This technique has really changed my view in displaying my Star Wars spaceships. I hope you can try it, and I know you can try it, and you can actually do it, and I'm sure someone will do it even better. So thank you for listening, and enjoy Tensegrity.